So we're dealing today with approving shifts. Now you may call them shifts or visits or Einsatztage or activation days or whatever, or just tasks. But the basic idea is that you will have taken some kind of contract from your customer, and one of the worst things that can happen to you is if one of your staff doesn't turn up, or if they don't do the right hours. And of course, you have the challenge, otherwise the customer would have done it themselves, of getting somebody to turn up on time, make sure they're there for the right amount of time, and to make sure that your policies and procedures work if they turn up late. I was speaking to somebody just yesterday, and if their staff turn up a minute late, they have to dock them 15 minutes, and that's agreed by the staff on the basis that they want to let all of the people into the shop at the same time and not have to go back downstairs to the front door or whatever it is and go and get some stragglers. So it's really important for people to turn up on time, and we can all think of shifts, especially related to health and safety, where this happens. We used to run a triathlon, and the ambulance staff turned up late, by which time we already had an injury. So there are certain things where there are penalties for being late, and certain things where you just want to measure the amount of time so that you can pay people the hours. This is obviously an essential part of finance, because if you're in finance and you're doing all of the further approvals of the payroll, then you need to know that you can trust the details. And if you're listening and you're in finance, or you have a finance responsibility, then this will be very important to you, because you need to be able to dig back into the details to see if somebody should be paid X or Y. So to jump into the agenda, once again, this session is going to be hopefully 80 or 90% demonstration, and only 10% or so killed by PowerPoint. We just want to show how we can confirm attendance, and that could be in the office, or there are all sorts of electronic mechanisms that can turn for confirming attendance. Now I'm going to be having a look at check-in, check-out today very, very briefly, but we're going to be spending a lot more time on it on, I believe, the well, I've got it here somewhere on the, I think it's the 19th, beg your pardon, the 17th of September. But if you've watched the video that I put in the intro, you can see how somebody can check in and check out. Now, it may be that you're running a business where your staff can turn up, do their report anytime they want. But of course, one business that you can get into is where they have to prove that they turned up and at what time they turned up. And they may have to stay to do demonstrations as well as do their merchandising. I think for the vast majority of people that we deal with, there's the whole area of timesheets and knowing when they turned up and what they did. And of course, if you have a manager there to sign off that your 6 staff that you sent, or your 300 car park staff, turned up on time, that's great. But a large number of gig economy agencies now will be sending 800 people out to 400 Tesco's 3 times a week or whatever it is, and you can't possibly check if Sally turned up at Tesco's Truro at 8 o'clock for her demonstration shift. So we have to have some kind of electronic means of checking that. And we'll be focusing on that in more detail, but you've got the videos to watch, and they're only a couple of minutes. Do see if you can get a chance to watch the Accelerate Checkpoints videos. We're going to look at, once this data has come in, and by data coming in, I mean it could be electronic, or it could be that your team leader at Kempton Park has said these guys have arrived, it's okay. Once that data is in, we need to adjust the timesheets for those who are late, those who did a different job at a different rate because somebody didn't turn up, all of the things that happen in real life. We need to deal with those devils that don't turn up. So did not show is a big issue in support all the time. How should it work, and so on. Then pay adjustments. So we're going to be dealing with that more in finance, but we're going to be looking at basically what you do if somebody has turned up late, gone early, or very often it's a case where you ask them to stay behind for 2 hours and put the bollards away or clear the drinks up or whatever it is. And then we're going to be looking at taking this up to submitting for payroll. And really what submitting for payroll is saying, this person turned up. It's basically the agreement that that person attended for X number of hours. And then, of course, because the system knows the rate that they're being paid, because you'll have set that up before, it knows the hours that they've done, then it can create both the entire payroll of a very large number of people each of which is earning quite a small amount of money per hour, but it adds up to a fair amount of money. And it can do that very accurately, and it can provide it for you in an itemized way. But of course, it can also do the invoicing for your clients as well. So we're going to be showing how to set that up and improve it today. Obviously, the related, or I should say really, what we're going to do today is one of the prerequisites for understanding the finance in your system. So without further ado, I'd like to just zizz us across to a demo system now, if I can grab it. I've actually got two demo systems on here. I've got the one that we've been looking at quite a lot, and I've got one which I happen to be logged into at the moment. And if I just refresh this report, I've just added a few sessions for this dog and duck door event here, where I think I can actually just show the ones today. So the basic 20, how have I done this? 9, so that's how we're doing. That needs to be 8. Beg your pardon. So that should refresh and bring us back. Dog and duck door, there we go. So we can see that we've got one person booked in this column here, and it looks like this guy has a shift. If I look at his payroll, which is supposed to, where's it gone? That's the problem with looking at it. So it's supposed to start at 16:45 and go through to 17:30. Now I'm going to make that 12:30. Whoops, 12:30. For reasons that will become obvious in a moment, to I don't know, 2300 or something. And if I save that, there we go, and that should add up the correct number of hours, correct amount of pay, and so on. So we can see here that all we have to do is put in his correct times for when he turns up, and it'll work out his pay. And then we can approve it. We can just click approve. But also, because if we look at this role, there are also client rates. So we know what time he turned up. We know what hourly rate we are paying here. So it's going at £18 an hour. And if he does all of those hours, then you'll be actually charging the customer £198 plus VAT. And this guy, if we go back to payroll details, will be paid £107 VAT. The rest being obviously the money that goes into paying for your paying for your business and overheads and heating and lighting and IT and all that kind of stuff, which says when he turned up. So if I go through to his payroll, you can see he checked in for this 12:30 shift, 12:14, and there's lots of other reports which I'll go through on the Kiko day, which show you not just what the lat long he was at. Now I'm sitting probably, I don't know, 60 or 70 yards from the location of this imaginary dog and duck door, because I made it the location of our office. So I'll tick all the boxes there, but also in the actual photo, there's stuff called EXIF data. I don't know if you go into your Google Photos or Apple Photos, you can see in the EXIF data the extended information about the photo. You can see the date, the location, and even the altitude and other things, what phone it was taken on, and goodness knows what else actually in the data about the photo. So it's very, very difficult for this guy to get out of that and say he didn't do it. So I can now approve this pay, but I appreciate that if you've got a monthly payroll to do and there's loads and loads and loads of pay to do, so I'm just going to say OK to pay and save here. I can then also submit the pay. So I'm logged in as somebody with finance admin, but if I only had payroll admin, in other words, if I was only allowed to be able to say to my boss with payroll admin, with financial admin, I am approving the fact that this person turned up, I could just submit that. So that's now submitted for a finance person to be able to do finance processes on it. For example, approve it, check it, make sure the VAT's right on the invoices, and so on and so forth. And over here, obviously, the client rates will show that as well. Now, the particular business rules in this system are that no extra hours are added on for turning up 5 minutes early, which I think most people would agree with. There are countries that we work in where by law, if somebody turns up 10 minutes early, they have to be paid that extra 10 minutes. If you ask somebody to turn up early, they have to be paid that 10 minutes. And there are all sorts of tax reasons for that. And we can set different business rules. As I mentioned, there are some people who are on the call now, and they need to be able to make sure that somebody gets a disproportionate amount of penalty for turning up late, because if they turn up late, all kinds of things go wrong. And I think we mentioned health and safety would be a classic one. You know, you can't run some events, and I've had personal experience of this. If your ambulance crew or some of your stewards have not turned up, you're suddenly into the work of sending somebody to gate 5 because Bill didn't turn up or whatever. So to get back onto the way that the staff can see the app, and the way that it links in, if we take the rest of these shifts, I'll just go to this. Interesting. There we go. Now I've just got to make sure I'm on the right one. So this is the one that I was actually logged into here. This was the shift that I believe we were looking at. This thing here, 12:30 to 2300 was the original time I put on it. I think I was looking at an old screen when I had to change that rule. So you can see that I have replicated this so that every day that he does his bar shift, we can see when he's on. By the way, I don't know if you have this on your system or not. This is strikes. I think we may have talked to this about sometime. This is you can give people strikes when they're late, and we must have been demonstrating a strike for this guy if you're familiar with strikes. So the shifts have been set up here, and we now need to look at how you actually approve those shifts. So there are different reports on different systems. The report I'm going to show you on this system just here is in the payroll processing report. And you may have this report on your system, or you may have the older version. But the basic idea of them is all the same. If you pick a level of approval, you can get all the people in that level of approval. So I'm going to go back for let's say the last month. So I've gone back to the 3rd of August, which would be the default here. And I'm imagining I'm running my payroll run. So you can change these dates to work with your payroll run. So it might be, for example, you're doing the payroll from for last week or for this week or whatever. I'm going to stick with these dates on the basis that at least we have some data in this demo system. But you would have probably set yours for, let's say you were doing last week's, you'd have probably taken from the 23rd of September to etc. It may be that you change that to do last month's if you pay people monthly. So we now need to approve all of the shifts that have happened in our organization. I'm just going to take a slightly longer list of approvals. I'm going to go back to, in fact, I might go back to June, simply because I'm not sure how much data. This is obviously an old demonstration system, and I'm just not sure how much data there will be in there. So I'm going to change that date to that, and I'm now going to search on all the shifts, and it looks like, luckily, we've got a few. I'm imagining we've just got one. We might have done another couple of demos here, but it looks like we've just got the 4th of June. And the reason we haven't got the other one, obviously, is it's stopped today. So I probably need to make that the 4th or something for the 4th of September to come in. If it's not, then I probably, oh no, I know why it is. It's because I've already approved it. So if we take a look at this one here, it looks like there's loads and loads of approvals left to do for all of these people, the imaginary people, obviously, except for Caroline, that you'll recognise, and the odd couple of customers may have been involved in a demo here. But all of these people have obviously done some work here, and you can see that those who are self-employed would have VAT, and those who are PAYE wouldn't. So if we just run through with this, go back to where I came from before, you can see that each one of my contracts will come up, and I'm ready to approve all of the people on it. Now, before approving, before just saying, yeah, just go with it, I would obviously drill down, and it could be that one of these people didn't turn up. So let's take the example of Maria Frost, on the 28th of August. If we go to that role, it could be that she didn't turn up for this shift. So the way we deal with that, if we go to all of the staff session and roles that were on that shift, where is Maria? Naughty Maria. Let's say she didn't turn up. Frost, there she is, Miss Frost. Look, she's already got a ticking off before. I'm going to give her another one. Obviously, DNS is quite a serious and emotional subject. So I'm going to give her didn't turn up on the 28th. So she now has 2 strikes, does Maria. I'm going to leave her payroll up there, but well, I'll bring it back afterwards to show you what happens. So I'm going to DNS her. There's a column here for those people that didn't turn up to keep it really nice and simple. So I'm now going to update the DNS values. So this lady here, I can add a reason. Where is Miss Frost? There she is, Maria Frost. So the reason was, I'm going to say no show, no communication. You can decide in drop-downs admin, you can decide what these reasons are, by the way. All very cool. So now if I go to the payroll screen here and look at the payroll for all these folks, I can see here, so this lady here, Maria Frost, is DNS'd out and she's zeroed out. So if I go back and refresh this payroll now, and we look at this, wherever she was, this festival, then Maria Frost is not there. So she's gone from that. So all the way through the rest of the payroll, that lady is not there. And even if she was there, it would be down as a 0. But there's no point in exporting it as says, there's no point in going on. The important thing is, do check these and make absolutely sure that the people that have turned up have turned up. Don't run the payroll and then go back and say, oh, somebody didn't turn up. Because otherwise you have to go back and do a manual adjustment. Now, having said that, we all know that everybody makes a mistake, or somebody forgets to tell you, or the most usual one is it wasn't Maria Frost who didn't turn up, it was Maria Snow. And so we have to go back and make those adjustments. You can do that in the system, but they have to be manual and they do need financial admin. So we've done approvals, we've done DNS. I just wanted to show you something rather interesting here, which is the whole area of backing stuff out and backing stuff in. Now, obviously, if you've already exported that to Sage or ArtZL or whatever your payroll is, you would need to call up your bureau or tell your payroll person to physically make the adjustment, give Maria Frost back her money, take it off Maria Snow. But on here, if you wanted to change any of this payroll, so I'm going to approve this payroll now, all of it. You can see none of this has been okayed to pay. I'm going to approve all this payroll now. Whoops, let's just close that. I'm going to approve all this payroll on this event. So this is the Accelerate Festival. And I am going to Actions Approve. So off we go. These folks are all approved here. Lovely jubbly, 29 approvals. Now, if I go back to the payroll for any one of these, it could be Brenda McGuinness in here. Let's go and find Brenda. Has anybody spotted her? I think there he is. There she is, Brenda McGuinness. Now, it could be that she did a few extra hours. So it could be that I want to increase her pay. In order to do that, then I would have to cancel the approval. Now, it's very important to understand who is allowed to do what here. Somebody is in payroll admin can cancel an approval that their boss has made, but they can't do the financial approvals after that. So they can resubmit and they can ask their boss to resubmit, but they can't take it through to financial admin again. They can see a mistake their boss has made and unapprove it. What you'd then have to do is you would have to reject the submission that you'd put in. So This lady, Brenda McGuinness, wherever she's gone, we want to add more hours to her. So what we'll do is we'll put in, I don't know, let's say she turned up early, 07:00, and actually I think we need to actually reject this as well. We need to take it right back to previous payroll. Right, so now it's ready to be changed. Now you can see Brenda McGuinness, I can change her hours. Come along, come along. So I can go in here and I can say 07 for that. I can then save that. And it doesn't matter what mass changes you do now, she's going to stay at 07. So you can mass change the hours or the rates, but that will stay at 07, that record there. Very clever system. So we save that, we now submit it. And of course, if we refresh this now, none of those are actually approved because I had to unapprove the lot. I can then reapprove them. Now, when you've got lots of people on the payroll, I could as easily do tick here and click. The real cracking thing about this report is it deals with one person on lots and lots and lots of shifts. So I don't need to approve this now. If I search again, that whole thing, that Crowthorne Festival, doesn't come up for approval because I've approved it elsewhere. But on this thing, we've got people turning up, one person per shift. Now, only one of them has been completed, but if there were hundreds of them, you would be able to just do that, click, and approve them all. So if I just go to actions here and approve, I'm good to go. There we go. So now that's all my payroll approvals done, ready for a finance admin. And a finance admin would be able to go to the next thing, which is payment processing. So if I now bring all of those fat people back, there are two streams for payment processing. Stream one is PAYE. So if I look at absolutely everybody and search, there's lots of folks there. And if I look at these guys here, I rather think that because they've got VAT, they're self-employed. So if I do the same report for the self-employed people, i.e. those people that you're not taking the tax off, you're not putting them through a normal payroll. Oops. Search. Then you can see those guys come through, and there's just those two people who are self-employed. Oh, it looks like this third person, Caroline McNicholas, is self-employed. If you're not sure, let me just explain the definition of self-employed. In a self-employed person, that's an interesting picture of Caroline McNicholas. I think she's probably just turned the thing there so she can log in as this guy to do a demo of on the app. So in a self-employed person, there is a company in here. So if you put any text in here, then that person can be self-employed. And the if you compare that to, I don't know, Alice here, who is not self-employed, she won't have anything in the company name. If you put something in the VAT number, so obviously normally you put a number, but if you put something in the VAT number, then it will add VAT to it. So if we go back to Caroline, then clearly she hasn't got VAT. But if I was to put a VAT number in there and save and rerun that report, then the VAT would be added on to her bill so that her bill would look the same as our bill. I'm not going to go into this anymore now, but if we just do this, you can see that VAT is added onto her bill there now. Obviously, not all your subcontractors, door staff, team leaders, people like that are self-employed, but if they are, it's very useful to have a self-employed one. And then also the next stage, which we're going to be talking about a lot more in the finance section, in the dates that I put on that newsletter, the next stage would be able to approve the payroll, and I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time on that, I think from about the 15th to the 18th, running through those things. So you can, and we'll be explaining what all these things do. Now, it might be that you have an older version of the report I'm not sure if it's on this demo system, but the principle is the same. The principle is in this approvals that you have somebody with payroll admin who is allowed to say, yes, these people turned up, but no money goes anywhere. They are basically creating the data upon which you can make your decisions as to whether you wish to approve the actual payroll, the actual payments going through the bank for these people. It also effectively approves the invoices. So if you are using our system to do your invoices, it approves those as well. And I'll be explaining about invoices and how your invoices can be edited and look perfect for customers, but they could be itemized or they could be summarized and so on when we do that finance section. The most important thing to understand, though, is that there is then a place where you can decide that you want to approve some sections of your payroll. So it could be that all of your payroll adds up to, I don't know, £150,000. And you would like to, let's say, a lot of companies want to pay their people early before Christmas. So if you have £100,000 in your payroll, but you have £80,000 in the bank, you can't do that. Silly example, I know. So it could be that you're waiting on a big payment from XYZ company of £150,000 that's going to come in, and you would expect it to come in on the 25th of the month. So on the 17th of December, you can pick £80,000 worth of staff to pay them, and it could be the well-behaved ones, maybe the ones without strikes or whatever. And you could maybe your oldest people on a certain campaign that had to travel a long way to go there. And then you can pay the other folks a few days later, but still on time, but a few days later when that big check comes in. So the idea is you've got complete control over cash flow and you've got complete control at multiple stages. So if a fraud was to occur, then you'd have to have a lot of people either sleeping on the job or collaborating together to make that happen. And obviously, we're aiming to make sure that these things are accurate. People get paid the right amount of money. They get itemized payments on their payroll. Obviously, itemized payments, in their actual payroll ticket, but also itemized payments and hours and everything on their staffing app. And most importantly, the right amounts of money go out, and it's an anti-fraud block. Then on the invoices side, people who've turned up are invoiced for, people who have not turned up are not invoiced for. And of course, when we look at invoices, we'll be looking at how you can add a taxi fare for somebody who worked late, or 50 quid off for the Christmas tree that somebody broke, or whatever. So we've gone through how to confirm attendance, understanding Kiko, which we're going to be going into in much detail on whatever I said it was, 17th, I think, or 18th or something. Adjusting for timesheets and how you can change those times. DNS, which just basically means nothing goes through. Pay adjustments, where you can change the rates and add things on, and submitting payroll. So the idea of submitting payroll, remember, is it can be done by a payroll admin, but a payroll admin may not have finance admin, and it's best not to. And then the finance admin person can look after the backs, creating the backs file for the bank, which we're going to be dealing with starting on about the 15th, 16th of September, and also the file which goes to your PAYE system, whether that's Sage in-house or a bureau that you use, your PAYE system to be able to pay PAYE.